Mary had a little man. The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe me. Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
779,000 people filed for the first time for unemployment benefits in the latest week. And they're under the pandemic programs, another 348,000 filed. So that's 1.1 million people who lost work in the most recent week filing for unemployment benefits. It just shows you the layoffs are continuing as the virus rages in this country. John, this is 46 weeks in a row. I have sat here at 8:30 Eastern time on a Thursday morning and reported to you the depths of the crisis in the jobs market. Overall, people with at least 2 weeks of unemployment benefits, 4.5 million. Taken all together, all the people who are getting unemployment benefits, 17.8 million. The Treasury Secretary this morning saying that essentially we need to get back to jobs. And if people don't have jobs to pay their bills, we have to find support for those people to pay their bills. This is the backbone of the economy. Earlier this week, John, we learned that the Congressional Budget Office, the CBO, thinks the U.S. economy will get back to pre-pandemic size by the summer. You won't get back to those jobs, Allison, back to pre-pandemic jobs till sometime in 2024.
Oh, for God's sake.
There is an unless that goes after that. That was yesterday's jobs report. Today, we actually found out, even more. This is pretty pathetic. This is the last jobs report for, the backward era.
A job gain of 49,000 in January after a big loss that was even revised lower in December, and an unemployment rate that fell to 6.3%. On paper, that's the lowest unemployment rate of this crisis. But when you dig beneath these numbers, we've seen month after month of people leaving the labor force. You look at some of the other indicators in this report, 6.3% is because so many people just aren't working. There are millions who are reporting that they can't go to work because their business is closed or business is down so much that there aren't hours for them to have here. 2.7 million of these jobs are considered temporary layoffs when you look at the labor market right now, and even more of them are considered permanent layoffs. About 3.5 million people report to the government that they think they've been permanently laid off at this time. When you look at where the job losses are, no surprise, in bars and restaurants, in retail trade. This is the part of the K-shaped recovery we've been talking about, these jobs that are just disappearing and don't seem to be coming back. But we are seeing job gains in professional and business services, in schools, in mining. So some parts of the economy are showing signs of life. Some parts of the job market are recovering, and others are just hopelessly here falling behind because the virus has kept the U.S. economy so out of sorts. Overall, because of downward revisions in November and December, it was worse in November and December than the government originally thought. You have 9.9 million jobs that are still have been lost since this pandemic began.
That is unbelievable. What a devastated economy. And it's always like this, isn't it? It's always like this. Happy Friday, you bastards. But it's always like this. It's always, we have to come in and clean up after the elephant poops all over the place, right? And last night at 5:30 in the morning, in the wee hours of the morning, oh yes, Democrats are working at 5:30 in the morning. In the morning, we are working. They had, last night, they had to first, because the Senate is cumbersome, you understand. Let me explain. So let's look at the Senate's procedures real quick. All right, the Senate has to first approve using reconciliation, budget reconciliation, as the means to pass the relief bill. So that's what happened last night, okay? The decision was made to use reconciliation as a means to vote on the relief bill. And the Republicans, of course, stood in the way. They introduced 45 amendments. It took 14 hours to get through all of the debate that is required in a bipartisan way to get through it. And then at the end of all that debate, 50-50 is what it was. 50-50 at 5:30 in the morning. Kamala had to come in and cast the tie-breaking vote. 5:30.
On this vote, the yeas are 50, the nays are 50, the Senate being equally divided, the Vice President votes in the affirmative, and the concurrent resolution as amended is adopted.
Tired golf applause is what that is. That is exhausted golf applause, right? Yes, Democrats do stuff at 5:30 in the morning. So Kamala Harris cast the deciding vote. Get used to that. Get used to that phrase. That is going to be probably one of the most used phrases in all of journalism in the year 2021. Seriously. Now, after this bill passed, the Republicans complained. Why? Because they're Republicans. And that's all they do is complain. They have no ideas. They have no way of solving a pandemic. They have no way of even telling the American people, we have a pandemic and here's what you need to do. They talk about self-reliance and self-governing. They didn't even give you the right information about how to be self-reliant and get through this. But no. So after the bill passed, the Republicans complained because they're Republicans. And they complained about partisanship and excessive spending. Now, we just have 4 years of excessive partisanship and excessive spending. Except they spent on crap that did not do one thing to solve this pandemic, did not do one thing to educate the American people about what to do in the pandemic or give people the tools they needed to battle this. No, just excessive spending on things like border walls and, they're fences, replacement fencing, and, just screaming about how they spent all this money on military, right? So that was the Trump administration. Excessive partisanship where all they did, this is crazy. All they accomplished was they used budget reconciliation in the first minute of Donald Trump's presidency to pass a ridiculously expensive tax cut for the wealthiest Americans, which did nothing for anybody, didn't help GDP, didn't help productivity, didn't do anything for us. Okay, but they used reconciliation, just so you know, and passed a tax cut and then decided, let's use the Senate for judicial appointments and nothing else. So it was just 4 years of partisanship and crap, okay? But you know who you need to thank for the ability to get something passed last night? And all that was passed last night, just be clear, is what procedure they're going to use in order to get a relief package voted on and out the door. They chose budget reconciliation last night. That's what that vote was, okay? So that was paving the way for a $1.9 trillion stimulus package to be introduced on the Senate floor at a later date. Okay, just so you understand. Why? Why later? Because it's not written yet. Because the Republicans got some amendments last night. They actually prevailed on some amendments with help from Democrats. Joe Manchin and Joni Ernst from Iowa, the one that likes to castrate pigs in her, downtime. Like some women go get their nails done. Other women, they paint, garden, read. She castrates pigs. That's her little hobby. Anyway, her and Manchin teamed up and got rid of the $15 an hour minimum wage. That was very bipartisan. Yeah. So now they have to write the damn bill. They have to actually write it. And that's going to take probably till the second week in March to get that written, because the Republicans kept on trying to obstruct it, and with the help of Kyrsten Sinema, Democrat, and Joe Manchin, Democrat, they were able to get some amendments through. And so now they have to write it up. And that's why it takes so much time. But you know who you really have to thank? Thank the voters of Georgia. Seriously, because if we had Loeffler and Perdue to deal with last night, the headlines would have been bad.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
This morning's job report shows that the U.S. labor market has essentially stalled in terms of job creation. Last month was 49,000 overall. That's actually a very low number for payroll job gains. But if you look at the private sector, it's only 6,000. That's essentially zero. Now, if you look over the past 3 months, Poppy, an average, because we've got ups and downs and volatility, you're talking about 29,000 jobs on average over the past 3 months. Again, that is a stall, especially when you compare it to the 1 million jobs per month that preceded it in the prior 3 months. So this is a job market that is calling out for the magnitude of intervention that's in the American Rescue Plan.
Everybody knows this. Everybody feels this. You know what's really interesting? Last night, the Republicans teamed up with some of the Democrats to target the checks, right? To target the checks, the $1,400 stimulus checks. So now they're going to scream, there was no bipartisanship. Oh, the hell there wasn't. Yeah, there was. You had blue dog Democrats teaming up with conservative Republicans to limit who's getting what. I say just give everybody the money. Give everybody the money and take it back at tax time if, it was excessive. Do you know what I'm saying? Just put it out there. Let the whole economy start having money. Jesus. But anyway, they worked together in a bipartisan fashion to get the stimulus checks to go only to people who make less than $50,000 a year. You know what's amazing about the Trump economy that he left us? Now, thanks to him, there are millions more who make less than $50,000 a year. Do you know, this blew my mind. I was reading the newspaper this morning and I saw this. I think it's in the Washington Post article. This is unbelievable. So it said in the paper that 70% of American workers, 70% of Americans who work for a living, make less than $50,000 a year. So these $1,400 checks are going to go to 70% of the American people. Wow. That is just stunningly frightening. Okay, 75. If we actually allowed people who make up to $75,000 a year get the $1,400, that would be 85% of Americans. 85% of Americans make less than 75. Whoa, that's freaky. But, leave it to the Republicans. Leave it to the Republicans to say no increase in the minimum wage. No, she pushed Joni Ernst, the one that castrates everybody. Okay, that is, they have a small package to begin with. Then they're going to go castrate you. Then don't look in their briefs. Don't. It's frightening in there. But she pushed through an amendment not to raise the federal minimum wage during a pandemic. What? What? What is their idea? How are they going to, what are the Republicans for other than rich people? I mean, this was excessive spending that they did through reconciliation, but they gave the money to the top 1%. 80% of all the tax cuts went to the top 1%. And now we're finding out that 85% of America makes less than 75 grand a year, but they only want to service 70% of the American people. So they're targeting it to people who make less than 50, and less than 50 is 70% of us. Oh my God. Wow. And now we find out we've lost tens of millions of jobs in the past year. And it would have been worse, except that the one person that did this to us lost his job. Thank God. Thank God. So we lost 10 million jobs and we gained 49,000. How could that be bad? Wow, and where did we lose? We lost retail jobs. We lost 40,000 retail jobs. We lost 30,000. I don't even know how this is possible. 30,000 jobs in healthcare facilities were lost. 30,000 jobs in healthcare facilities. Transportation and warehousing, 28,000 jobs were lost. Hotels, restaurants, gambling, bars, 61,000 jobs. Amusement parks, just unbelievable. So 49,000 jobs were created in our economy last month. Just wow. The jobs that were created in professional and business services. And of those 97,000 jobs that were created, 81,000 of those are temp jobs. Temp. You know, they do this all the time. They find a way to just crash our economy no matter what. No matter what. It's just so sad. It's so sick. It's so twisted. It's so unbelievable. And here we have a procedure in the Senate where last night it took us 14 hours just to get to a 50-50 vote, which they knew was going to be the vote before they started 14 hours of bullcrap debate on bullcrap amendments, one after the other. That's what Votorama is. Votorama is, they introduced an amendment. The amendment has to be debated on for a certain amount of hours, and then you go to the next one and the next one. And they did 45 amendments that way, 5 amendments, 14 hours. And they knew what the result was going to be, the Republicans did. They knew. They knew from the outset. Why do they do this and waste everybody's freaking time? And then at 5:30 in the morning, okay, what's the vote? What's the final vote? 50-50. And that included their freaking amendments to block the $15 an hour minimum wage, a whole lot of other crap that they put in there. You know, this was to address an economic collapse, is what this was, okay? And they were so adamant about lowering and narrowing who qualifies and don't let people make $15 an hour. I mean, Roy Blunt, if he's your guy, if he's your senator from Missouri, you know, he actually had an amendment last night to stop funding from schools. Seriously. And Cassidy from Louisiana, that senator, he doesn't want to give another dime to schools. Senator Todd Young, his amendment was to block stimulus payments to undocumented immigrants, which no one had a problem with. Okay, no one had a problem with that. And so that passed. And then they voted 99-1, the Senate did, for Senator Manchin and Susan Collins' amendment to ensure that upper income taxpayers do not receive stimulus payments. But they never said what upper income meant. They never gave a number. And that freaking what does that mean? I don't even know what that means. Why were they wasting time last night? I swear to God. I swear to God. Steve Daines in Montana, he tried to restart the XL pipeline. What does that have to do with the coronavirus pandemic? By the way, Joe Manchin voted with Steve Daines of Montana. That's bipartisan, isn't it? So did John Tester of Montana, Democrat. But then, after they voted with Steve Daines in a bipartisan fashion to restart the XL pipeline, I don't know who called them in the middle of the night, but one lobbyist or two lobbyists or somebody must have called them and said, I'll make you a better deal. And then all of a sudden, hours later, they opposed it. They were for it before they were against it. Oh my God, this is unbelievable. And I swear to God, some of this is just going to show up on TV commercials during primary season. You watch, you wait. Some of these amendments were introduced just to get the footage off C-SPAN. Swear to God. They are not interested. The GOP is not interested in you.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
I know some in Congress think we've already done enough to deal with the crisis in the country. Others think that things are getting better and we can afford to sit back and either do little or do nothing at all. That's not what I see. I see enormous pain in this country. A lot of folks out of work, a lot of folks going hungry, staring at the ceiling tonight wondering, what am I going to do tomorrow? A lot of folks trying to figure out how to keep their jobs and take care of their children. A lot of folks reaching the breaking point. Suicides are up. Mental health needs are increasing. Definitely. Violence against women and children is increasing. Okay. A lot of folks are losing hope. And I believe the American people are looking right now to their government for help, to do our job, to not let them down. So I'm going to act, and I'm going to act fast. I'd like to be doing it with the support of Republicans. I've met with Republicans. There's some really fine people who want to get something done, but they're just not willing to go as far as I think we have to go.
Fine people on both sides. Did he just say that? Or did I? Okay, don't put words in his mouth, Rand. All right, I won't. but that's what he said. So I just want you to know that at the beginning of every administration, Democratic administration, the Republicans bond together to make him a one-term president, okay? They did it with Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton's first thing, he wanted to bring down interest rates, spark the economy. He wanted to reduce the deficit. That was his first plan. It got no votes from the Republicans, like zero. Zero in the House, zero in the Senate. Al Gore, Vice President Al Gore, had to break the tie. See, when we talk about the organizing resolution, and they talk about, hey, we had this situation before, back in 1991, Bill Clinton, okay? So that's what they were talking about. And of course, Mitch McConnell, I don't know what you're talking about. I can't agree to organize the Senate the way you want to. Well, we're saying, it happened in modern history, it happened under Clinton. Don't you remember Al Gore had to break ties? Don't you remember that? No, I don't. Okay. So that's the situation in 91. Then Obama, when he was first president, he wanted legislation to stop the financial crisis. He wanted to revive the economy. The House Republicans would not vote for the stimulus package. And they kept on saying, no, you have to, make it smaller and more targeted. And Obama spent 8 months negotiating with them, 8 months on the Affordable Care Act, negotiating with them, immigration reform, negotiating. And you know what? We're not going to be suckers anymore. This is ridiculous. This is so stupid because in the end, no Republicans, zero Republicans. We did get one Senate Republican that voted with Obama at the beginning for the stimulus. That was Arlen Specter, who then changed parties. Because you can't be a Republican and vote with a Democrat. You just can't. They won't let. So who's against bipartisanship? It ain't us. It is not the Democrats that are against bipartisanship. It is the Republicans who are an impediment to progress, an impediment to the American people. And when Joe Biden is talking about unity, I want you to understand he means united with us, the American people, the working people, people of conservative beliefs, but people who work, people of democratic belief, people who are progressive, people who are independent. And I know that because you will never get bipartisan agreement on doing things for working people. It isn't who they are. It's not what they're for. The reason why their supporters are so agitated and angry and fearful and just violent is because they don't understand that they have been supporting a party that stabs them in the back and has been since Ronald Reagan. It's sad, but it's true. Anyway, Jen Psaki was asked about this today, and she said exactly what I've been saying. This is not about, bipartisanship where you make the Democrats and the Republicans one party. That's never going to happen. We're talking about unity with American people.
Given the president's remarks earlier and his change of tone, it does seem that he is now okay if this does happen just with Democratic support, despite those hopes and despite his calls for unity.
Well, first of all, the president ran on unifying the country and putting forward ideas that would help address the crises we're facing. He didn't run on a promise to unite the Democratic and Republican Party into one party in Washington.
Thank you.
This package has the vast majority of support from the American public.
Right.
This is something that people want. They want to see it pass. They want these checks to get into communities. They want this funding to go to schools. They want more money for vaccine distribution.
Right. The unity is between government and America, not between Mitch McConnell and Kamala Harris. Okay, or Chuck Schumer, or Matt Gaetz and Maxine Waters. I'm sorry, that's just stupid. That's just stupid. They have no ideas. They are obstructionists. And by the way, here's a commercial that was put out. This is an ad the White House put out with conservatives voicing support for the rescue package.
I'm a political conservative.
I grew up in a Republican family, and a lot of my values as a human being come from that.
There are Americans who are hurting.
Businesses, restaurants are going out of business.
COVID-19 has impacted my business.
I really worry about my family.
It's been a challenge for my family to find safe and reliable childcare.
I see kids struggling.
I'm really excited to see the president push to get schools reopened.
I would say that we all love our country and want what's best for our families, our friends, and our neighbors. Right now, people and businesses are hurting and they need help.
This American Rescue Plan has important funding for getting the vaccine actually distributed through the states.
I think the goal of getting schools open is a good one.
My message to our Republican elected officials is to put our country first.
And I think there should be a bipartisan effort to step up and try and assist these people, and it's imperative to act quickly before things get worse.
Sooner the better, because a lot of people are hurting and need the relief as soon as possible. So I'm, rooting for them to get that done.
It's a lot of people. That's a lot of people in this country of all different convictions, okay? It's not America first. That's like real Nazi stuff. It's people first. There's unity between conservatives and progressives and Democrats and Republicans on getting money out the door in the midst of this horrific economic crisis caused by a mass casualty event called COVID.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
We have to go big and we have to go bold here to finally put this crisis, to finally put this virus behind us, and to finally and reliably launch a robust, inclusive, and racially equitable recovery. We have consistently said the risks of going too small are much greater than the risks of doing too much. Now, that doesn't mean there are no risks engaged in the kind of work that we're doing, because that's always the case in an economy. But what Larry is worrying about here is inflation overheating. And right now, we have inflation that's been below the Fed's target rate of 2% for well over a decade. And so we also have tremendous unused capacity in this economy. We have Black and Hispanic unemployment rates around 9%. We have 10 million people unemployed. We have 2.5 million fewer women in the labor force who aren't even counted in the unemployment rate out of the labor force often because of their care responsibility. So wait, let me just finish, Poppy.
Sure.
It is all that capacity that the American Rescue Plan plans to get back online into this economy, primarily through controlling the virus, distributing the vaccine, and providing people the relief they need to get to the other side.
Yes, exactly. I should tell you now, Nancy Pelosi in the House just passed the recovery package, the rescue package, and she's saying that, the due date for the vote is March 14th. Why? There's a lot of reasons, but the due date for the bill is March 14th. Now, that's important because that is when the existing benefits, like the enhanced unemployment checks and stuff, would run out. So that's an important date. But she just said that they are working on the specifics of the bill, and she thinks that it's only going to take the House 2 weeks to send something over to the Senate, and it will be long before that March 14th due date. And that would be great. She's talking about February 22nd. So they're going as fast as humanly possible when it comes to writing legislation. And that's what has to get done now. They have to write it. So that's hopeful. But, see, this is the difference between the party. I mean, the Republicans, they would declare a national emergency. They did. They declared a national emergency to build a stupid border fence. They literally did that. So maybe they think that emergency declarations are only for non-existent threats. I don't know. Or hoaxes. I don't know. But here you have the House moving very, very quickly, very fast, and sending it over to the Senate as fast as humanly possible. So today is what, the 5th? So we're looking at the 22nd. About 2 weeks and a few days. That's pretty good. All right, Carol in New York. Sorry.
Hi, Randy. This is Carol Marie.
Oh, hi, Carol Marie. Hi.
How you doing?
Good.
Housekeeping first. I have a belated happy birthday gift for you.
Oh.
I'm sending it through the mail, which means with Louis DeJoy still in charge, you'll get it in time for your next birthday.
You know, everybody forgets about when they start screaming, it was rigged, that he was rigging it with the Postal Service. You know, everybody just leaves that little detail out. So I'm glad you brought it up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So anyway, the new bipartisanship is between the American people and the Biden administration and Democrats and people who are like-minded that haven't been in a coma for the past year and a half.
Yeah, that's unity.
That's unity to me, baby.
Me too.
And Larry Summers, I think he's been in that coma.
You know, these are they're supply siders. The only trick they know is give all the rich people all the money, and it will somehow trickle down to me and you, Carol. And it never freaking does.
Never.
It's like QAnon, okay? Nothing they predicted ever came true. And still people are believing it. Trickle down, same damn thing. Nothing ever comes true in a trickle down economy for anybody except the very, very tippy top, and still they believe it.
And it's insanity because we're not even trying to get back to where we were.
I know.
We're trying to go way beyond that. And that's the whole Build Back Better thing, I thought.
It is. It is. And that, you know, I was just tiptoeing around it, but, you know, Bernie is wanting to declare a climate emergency because if he can operate inside of a actual emergency declaration, then you could push things, you know, faster and make jobs happen quicker, right? And I'm telling you that Donald Trump did it to build his stupid fence, which benefited nobody. And now Bernie wants to do it for climate, which is a real thing, not a hoax thing, okay? And they're going to fight back and push back and say, there's no climate emergency, you're crazy. You could see it last night by the amendment to reinstitute the XL pipeline. You know, they keep wanting the same policy, the same everything, the same energy, the same tax plan, the same, you know, ignore the pandemic thing. This is a hoax and that's a hoax and the election was stolen. And you brought up the Postal Service, which was an attempt to rig the election at the beginning, at the front of it. So yeah, I'm done. I'm done with it. I'm
done.
I'm done too.
I'm done.
I don't respect anything that they say because they keep on advocating for the one trick they know over and over and over and expecting a different result, and it turns into insanity. It just does.
It really does. We've already done that. We've been there. We've done that. We've done that since Reagan.
I mean, how many years are we going to do this? How many years are we going to, you know, are they going to preach this? Give all the rich people all the money and they'll take care of you. What? Out of what? Some moral compass they have? Or out of a desire for what? I mean, making money is taxed lower than you and me making money by working for it.
Exactly. Exactly. Thank you, love.
Okay, thank you. I hope everybody's okay, including your extraordinarily talented son. All right, Jude in Alabama.
Hi, Randy.
Hi, Jude. Hey, Jude.
I was just wondering if Nancy Pelosi could get a restraining order against Green and if it could be enforced at the Capitol.
I don't see why not, but what good would that do? I mean, everybody would have to. I mean, AOC and
I think it would just be funny that there was a restraining order that she had to keep away from her.
listen, it's pathetic. It's pathetic that this woman is standing there saying the media did this. And I was allowed to believe bad things. I was allowed to believe that posting picture of me with an AK-47 and Ayanna Pressley and AOC and Ilhan Omar was okay. I was allowed to believe that was okay. She's backcrapping.
Well,
how many?
Thank you.
You're welcome. How many lunatics do we have to see associated with that party before we say that party has no ideas for Americans and it attracts the craziest lunatic? Stephen King was one of them. I think that the last crazy Democrat we had, I think, was Jim Trafficant. Does anybody remember him? Yeah, he used to stand on the floor. I think he was from Ohio. He used to stand on the floor and say, "Beam me up, Scotty. Beam me up." He would give these crazy floor speeches. But subsequent to him, every lunatic fringe person, the Matt Gaetz of the world, the Andy Biggs of the world, the Paul Gosars of the world, the Rand Pauls of the world, the Ted Cruzes of the world, the Josh Hawleys of the world, who he keeps going on Fox saying, "I will not be silenced." He's on national freaking news, or a cable news station, let's just put it that way, saying he's being silenced. I mean, these are people that tried to cancel the votes of 81 million Americans by offering that 75 or 74 million Americans voted a different way. Well, 81 million is more than that. It's just more. It just is. That's math is math. So says Andrew Yang. But they were trying to cancel the voices of 81 million Americans. They're trying to cancel the voice of AOC. They're trying to cancel the voice of Ilhan Omar. They're trying to cancel the votes of Georgians, right? The president is literally caught on tape saying he wants to cancel the vote of Georgians. Couldn't you just manufacture like 11,890 votes for me, just one more than Biden got, so that we can cancel out the will of the people in Georgia? Screaming cancel culture. It's like I said, if you find yourself beating a police officer with an American flag while chanting USA, USA, get help. Go online and go find somebody a therapist.
Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
Democrats say they had no choice but to act after Republican leadership failed to do anything to discipline Green, calling her words dangerous, using her own Facebook post to argue their case.
AR-15.
Oh, God.
Squad's worst nightmare.
So I ask my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, when they take this vote, imagine your faces on this poster.
The vote split almost entirely along party lines.
Oh, you think?
With 11 Republicans crossing the aisle to support Green's removal. But hours before that decision, Green took to the House floor in a last-ditch effort to defend her reputation. The words "free speech" printed on her face mask. She accused Democrats of trying to crucify her in the public square.
These were words of the past, and these things do not represent me.
So you heard from the Congresswoman there trying to walk back those statements, but still no apology.
No apology. Because, she only believes some of what QAnon says about satanic pedophile cannibals. Just some of it, not all of it. I only believe some of it, not all of it. I was looking at the Russia collusion investigation, and I didn't think it was true. So I asked the internet in 4chan and 8chan and Stormfront and Facebook, and I decided that I would be a moderator of a Facebook group that actually features death threats and racist memes in order to answer my questions about Russian collusion. Oh, God. So we were able to kick her off her committees. And, you know, it's really sad that the GOP is so scared of its own voters. It's just so scared of the Trumpers. It's so scared of the death cult. So they wouldn't put their vote on that. You know what's really interesting? Again, you saw what happened with Liz Cheney. They voted right away, but secret. Shh. Don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody we like Liz Cheney. Don't tell anybody she was right to vote to impeach the president. Don't tell anybody. So 145 Republicans in secret said, no, Liz Cheney was right to vote to impeach Donald Trump for inciting an insurrection, for inciting a mob, for inciting a bloody coup at the Capitol. He was right. She was right to do it. But when it's public, oh, this is really fun. You want to see? I'm going to show you like the Republicans defending the indefensible. All right. Here was their best arguments last night. All right. So, you know, Steny Hoyer actually took tweets from Marjorie Taylor Greene and Facebook postings from Marjorie Taylor Greene and walked it around the well of the House to show the Republicans exactly who she is, what she stands for, what she's posted, that she is a QAnon, conspiracy-toting, gun-loving, mass-shooting-denying, assassination-promoting wackadoo, okay? And so then they had to get up and defend her. This is Representative Brian Babin, of a Republican from Texas. Here's his defense.
If my Democrat colleagues are attempting to take the speck out of their eye, I encourage them to also take the log out of their own eye. Out of our eye, then take the speck, take the log out of their own eye.
Something to do with the log. They're always talking about their logs. I don't even know what that means. One more time, somebody, maybe you could explain.
If my Democrat colleagues are attempting to take the speck out of their eye, I encourage them to also take the log out of their own eye. Out of our eye, then take the speck, take the log out of their own eye.
Is English his first language? I'm not sure. All right, here's Jim Jordan defending Marjorie Taylor Greene. Here's his argument.
The digital Thunderdome. You engage in wrong think, you engage in wrong speak, you're going in the Thunderdome.
What? Wrong think, wrong speak, Thunderdome. What? Eat the cookie, eat the cookie. I don't know what he's talking about. Okay, and Jim Jordan continued his defense of Marjorie. It went like this.
Everyone has said things they wish they didn't say. Everyone has done things they wish they didn't do. So who's next? Who will the cancel culture attack next?
Okay, so everybody who has posted that they want to put bullets in the heads of other people, don't you wish that you hadn't threatened to kill somebody? Don't you wish that you didn't post that? Everybody's sorry for threatening to kill others. You know, I've been doing this pretty much my whole adult life. You know, part of it was, music radio, okay? And then from 1992 till now, I've been doing talk radio. It never occurred to me to threaten to kill somebody. I have never, ever, ever threatened to kill anybody. Don't you hate it when you do? I mean, I don't know what is that? That is the defense? Okay, and here's Kevin McCarthy defending Marjorie. Here he is.
If you look for a side that has a leadership that's done something when their members do something as a member, not prior, look to me. Because I did just that.
They're drunk. English is not their first language. I think we should start some sort of a conspiracy that says that Republicans are really invaders from another planet who came here and were forced to learn English so that they could pass themselves off as Americans, but they're really aliens. They can't. So that That was their best argument, okay? That was something about a log and a speck. And don't you wish that you never threatened to kill somebody? I mean, we've all done it, right? We've all threatened to kill somebody and posted it on Facebook and associated ourselves as a moderator of a racist Facebook page and supported rabid conspiracy theories and advocated for, posting photos of nooses and saying in our own words, if you want to make America great again, we will have to make evil people fear punishment again, and then posting a noose and then saying, start with Hillary and Obama. Because we've all done that. We've all posted the Punisher's skull with bloody eyes and said, God will judge our enemies and we will arrange the meeting. We've all done that. In fact, we've all forgotten to take ourselves off of racist Facebook pages while we're serving in Congress and continue to list one of our assets as being a moderator of it. We've all posted hitting people over the head with a hammer. All of us have. We've all posted and liked murderous psychopaths that we can relate to in various, like Sling Blade. We've all, said, I reckon I've had enough of this Democratic crap, except you wrote it. How about you? We've all incited violence. We've all done it. And we're so sorry. And it shouldn't get in the way of us serving in Congress. Yes, the Family America Project. That is her Facebook. She's got a whole bunch of them. She's just, I'm so sorry. But you know what's really crazy? She blamed the media yet again. And today she was out there again saying, this is the party of Trump. No one else. This is his party. And if he starts his own party, I'll be part of that party. I'll be, and I'll go back to posting on 4chan. And she tweeted today, what a bunch of morons the Democrats are for giving someone like me free time. We need to give her real time. Real time.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
It should be America first always. Always. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Huh.
And if this Congress is to tolerate members that condone riots that have hurt American people, attacked police officers, occupied federal property, burned businesses and cities, but yet wants to condemn me and crucify me in the public square for words that I said and I regret a few years ago, then I think we're in a real big problem, a very big problem. What shall we do as Americans? Shall we stay divided like this? Will we allow the media that is just as guilty as QAnon of presenting truth and lies to divide us? Will we allow ourselves to be addicted to hate and hating one another? I hope not, because that's not the future I want for my children, and it's not the future I want for any of your children.
Oh, good. Then put down your AK-47. Just put it down, walk away. Put down your weapons and walk the hell away. What is wrong with her? What is wrong with her? Nothing that ridiculous conspiracy theory, which is made up of really old conspiracy. I mean, that's the thing about this PsyOps operation that is known as QAnon. It picked off every single anti-Semitic trope that was ever invented from post-World War I on, okay? It took every conspiracy theory that John Birchers ever put forward about globalists and mixed it with anti-Semitic and with George Soros and with hatred and love of guns. Nothing they ever said was going to happen, and they still believe it. I mean, it's just... Listen, she's a Karen, and that's the problem. She's a Karen with a Q, and Kevin McCarthy is a Karen. He's a Kevin with a Q. And it's a... Listen, here, I think this should be a really bright line. I'm just saying. I'm offering this. If you have to go to the well of the floor, if you have to go stand on the floor of the House of Representatives, and you have to say school shootings absolutely happened, and that 9/11 was absolutely real, I think you have the lowest bar of like there's no barrier to entry to your party. If that's what you find yourself doing and you get a standing ovation from your party, then trust me, your party has a very low barrier for entry. I mean, this was just so sick. She was standing on the floor and said, oh, 9/11 happened. Yeah, how did it happen? Were there airplanes? Because she said there were no airplanes. You know, I mean, how did it happen? That's what I'm saying. She only believes half of the Q stuff. You know what I mean? It's just, she's a very strange girl, blaming the media, and that she was allowed to, who allowed her to believe? I mean, you know, they're like, I don't know. She did say today, this is the party of Trump, and that is what it is, and it will always be, and I'm sorry, but that's where I am, and I will always be here, and that is that. That is where I am. Here.
They loved his policies. They loved his fight. They loved the fact that for once we had a president that stood up for America, stood up for American businesses, and remembered the forgotten man.
What?
He was a president that didn't care about your skin color.
What?
Because God created us all equal, and thank God our Constitution affirms that. He was a president that wanted every single person to achieve. And that's why we supported him. That's why I've always supported him. And I want to tell you, Republican voters support him still. The party is his. It doesn't belong to anybody else.
Look at my African American over there. Look at him. I don't know what the hell. I will say they're like rats trying to jump onto a sinking ship at this point. How bizarre is that? It's his party, and if he makes a third party, I will be part of the Trump party. Well, good. Let him start a Trump party, because it'll make it so much easier for us to create terrorist watch lists. Go ahead. Bonita in Washington.
Oh, hello, Randy. How
Hi.
are you?
Hi.
I long supporter, and I just wanted to call to give you a sincere thank you for getting me through this nightmare that I have called the era of the con. If it wasn't for you, I don't know how I would have gotten through.
I wish it were over. But we have a shadow president now who is controlling like lunatic, fringy people who have made it into Congress, like Lauren Boebert, like her, like Andy Biggs, like Paul Gosar, like Rand Paul, like Lindsey Graham, like freaking Josh Hawley, like Ted Cruz. They're all in there, and they're using this platform of hatred and anger and frustration to gain power back. They're all going to compete against each other to see who the next Trump can be. Who's Trumpier than the other. It's not over. I wish it were over. I really do.
That's the scary part.
It's the horrible after effects of what he has spewed all over us. You know, we have to do an accountability thing and a cleanup and the whole 9 yards. I hope next week when we have this trial, people will start to wake up and understand what all we were put through, how conned we were, how bamboozled everybody was, how he lied repeatedly to agitate, to make people angry and fearful and hate their own country. I hope it's a very emotional, fact-based, with video and testimony and the whole 9 yards, so everyone can see in real time what the F happened here.
Exactly, but the thing of it is that these people believe any bull crap that there is. You can just put out anything, and as long as it's against the Dems, they believe it.
Well, here's a little exercise for them. If Donald Trump had a D after his name, and he went and tried to dismantle the Postal Service ahead of an election, right? And if he was a Democrat out there saying the whole election is rigged, it's rigged, it's rigged, and if I lose, it's because it's rigged, and then was caught on tape calling secretaries of state, calling governors, saying, can't you just find me one more vote than Biden got or than the Republican got? If it was a D after his name, what would their reaction be?
Oh, absolutely. That would have started the first tape that came out where he was grabbing women. He would have been done then.
Yes. So that's the exercise that people need to actually put themselves through to understand how they got here.
Yeah.
Because I promise you, if, let's say, Bill Clinton was running for president again and he was caught on an Access Hollywood tape saying, you know, when you're a star, you could do whatever you can grab them by the... Oh, I mean, the internet would light up with Republicans just saying he's a pedophile, or that he's disgusting, or that he's, a sex fiend, or that he's, a perpetrator of, right?
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844.
561-270-3844. Listen to this. This is Ben Sasse, the Republican from Nebraska. This is pretty amazing.
January 6th is going to leave a scar. For 220 years, one of the most beautiful things about America has been our peaceful transfer of power. But what Americans saw 3 weeks ago was ugly. Shameful mob violence to disrupt a constitutionally mandated meeting of the Congress to affirm that peaceful transfer of power. It happened because the president lied to you. He lied about the election results for 60 days.
Wow.
Despite losing 60 straight court challenges, many of them handed down by wonderful Trump-appointed judges. He lied by saying that the vice president could just violate his constitutional oath and declare a new winner. That wasn't true. He then riled a mob that attacked the Capitol, many chanting, "Hang Pence."
Huh.
If that president were a Democrat, we both know how you'd respond. But because he had Republican behind his name, you're defending him.
Yeah.
Something has definitely changed over the last 4 years, but it's not me. Personality cults aren't conservative.
Oh.
Conspiracy theories aren't conservative.
Oh.
Lying that an election has been stolen, it's not conservative.
Oh.
Acting like politics is a religion, it isn't conservative.
Oh.
I still believe every word from the campaign trail. What makes America great isn't power politics. It's what happens in the communities where you and I are raising our kids. Happily, most Nebraskans still believe that too. I think that's why Nebraskans just gave our campaign tens of thousands more votes than President Trump got in our state. It's why our campaign just set all-time vote count records in both the primary and general elections, despite being primaried last year for not being Trumpy. All-time most votes for any candidate in Nebraska history. And look at Omaha, which he lost by a lot, and we won handily. Why? I think the reason's simple. Nebraskans aren't rage addicts, and that's good news. You are welcome to censure me again, but let's be clear about why this is happening. It's because I still believe, as you used to, that politics isn't about the weird worship of one dude.
Oh, for God's sake.
The weird worship of one dude. That sums it up, doesn't it? So that is Ben Sasse. He is a Republican, obviously, from Nebraska. And the central scrutinizer. This is the central scrutinizer. The central scrutinizer, the Nebraska GOP State Central Committee, which sounds sort of Nazi, are looking to censure him for not being Trumpy enough. He does not support Donald Trump. He has not ever support. He's a never Trumper. He didn't support Trump in 2016. He didn't support Trump in 2020. But he gave this very long talk, I guess. I just took 2 minutes out of it, where he was talking to his constituents in Nebraska. And he said, I listen to Nebraskans every day, and very few of them are as angry about life as some people on this committee. Not all of you, but a lot. political addicts don't represent most Nebraska conservatives. And then he started to go through the rage addicts, wanting to support the sinking ship that is the Trump campaign, right? And he's like, no, I got more votes than he did. So what are you talking about? What are you actually talking about? I think what's getting to him is the fact that Liz Cheney was 61 Republicans in the House voted against Liz Cheney continuing on as the Republican conference chair, but only 11 House members, when it came to public voting, voted to hold Marjorie Taylor Greene accountable for threatening people with AK-47s and moderating various 4chan channels, 8chan channels, and a Facebook page with nothing but death threats against, Democrats. It's so telling that the Republican Party had 61 votes to remove Cheney, but only 11 to remove Marjorie Taylor Greene. And that is a backcrap party. That is a party that has lost everything. And he said, many of you are hacked off that I condemned his lies that led to a riot. Let's be clear. The anger in the state party has never been about me violating principle or abandoning conservative policy. I'm one of the most conservative voters in the Senate. The anger has simply been about me not bending the knee to one guy. Because it is a cult of personality, and some people who still advocate for conservative principles that won't put a nickel in your pocket ever, but they believe they're conservative for whatever social reason, they are like creeped out by the cult-like atmosphere around this particular human. Well, that's what silence gotcha. You were quiet. Everybody was so quiet for 4 freaking years. They were quiet when he was saying, I'll get your legal bills if you punch him in the face. They were quiet when he said, don't be so nice, bang their heads into the car doors when you arrest people. They were quiet when he, was lying about, the crowd size at the very beginning. And they were quiet at the end when he said the election was stolen for almost 2 months. They didn't say anything. So you could put out videos, and I appreciate that you did, but didn't move me to want to become part of your group. Let's just say. Somebody in Florida, Dora.
Yes.
What's your name?
I had a question for you.
All right.
Trump is, I guess, trying to get a campaign tour started in the early summer. Now, is he privy to some information that we don't have, that he will not stand trial for treason and that he will not be convicted?
In criminal court or in the Senate? Where?
In the Senate.
Yeah, I mean,
guess in the House of Representatives.
No,
that's where
the Senate.
That's where they go first, I think.
No, they've already been there. He's been impeached for the second time. So now next week there's a trial in the Senate.
Yeah.
Well, everybody knows that the Republicans will not vote to convict him. They just won't. I mean, Ben Sasse might join Romney, maybe Susan Collins, maybe Murkowski, but we're not going to get 17. You're not going to find 17 Republicans who want to hold him accountable for a bloody coup, for an insurrection. So, the jury is rigged, and his mob lawyers are counting on that. That's why they're so sloppy. They don't care. They know he's getting off scot-free. The only purpose for the trial is cathartic, meaning America has to hear what happened. America has to see what happened, all in one place over the course of a very few days. That's what's going to happen next week. Are the Republicans going to join with the Democrats to hold him accountable? Oh, hell no. Hell no.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
This is an important time in our history. We can't allow this just to be gone, just to let it go. You can't allow it to just transfer power peacefully like Joe Biden wants and allow him to become our president.
That was her after she was elected. I just want to remind you that this whole idea that she didn't say anything terrible or incite any riots or was part of any group that was saying that there were going to be mass arrests and that you would see all, everybody be like Hillary was going to get arrested and all pedophile. That was after she was elected, just so you know. Now, this is really rare, what I'm about to tell you, but it has happened now. 370 congressional aides, people that work in Congress, have signed a letter begging the senators, some of them begging their own bosses, to convict Donald Trump for inciting a violent attack on our workplace. They wrote a very personal letter about how they had to duck under their desks and barricade themselves in offices and watch as marauding, violent rioters smashed their way through the Capitol on the 6th. Now, that's Marjorie saying we can't allow a peaceful, in air quotes, transition of power. And then she implored, and you'll notice she's wearing the same shirt, so you know it's the same video. Nobody's taking anything out of context. She said, please come to the Capitol January 6th because we can't allow for a peaceful transition of power the way Joe Biden wants, right?
Support Congress, Republicans in Congress in this effort. We also need you to support our president. On January 6th, if you're able, there are going to be possibly 1 million or more people coming to Washington to be there for this historic event. If you're able, I ask you to come. We definitely want your support. It's critical for everyone to show up and show the nation who we are. We aren't a people that are going to go quietly into the night. We are not a people that are going to be thrust into socialism without stopping it. So thank you so much. I want to thank all of you for your support, and I want to let you know I will always take on the fight because I believe in it.
She believes in it. That was her after she was elected. So this notion that, that doesn't represent me. I didn't do any of this stuff after I was elected. Oh, bite me. I mean, this is just, so now you have people who worked in Congress. You have people who were terrified that day, and they wrote in this letter, quote, as congressional employees, we don't have a vote on whether to convict Donald J. Trump for his role in inciting the violent attack at the Capitol, but our senators do. And for our sake and the sake of the country, we ask that they vote to convict the former president and bar him from ever holding office again. They are clear that he incited an insurrection and that he needs to be convicted of that. They begged for Republican aides to sign on to this letter, and guess what? No Republican aides who also saw, who also experienced, who also knew that they were trying to hang Mike Pence, who also knew that they were trying to kill Nancy Pelosi, who also knew they were hunting AOC, who also knew exactly what they were trying to achieve, who saw a Confederate flag, who understood that they were people that believed in some weird conspiracy crap that they were willing to kill for, that this president lit the fuse when he started to say for 60 days in a row that it was stolen, that something was taken from them, that this was becoming not America anymore, that we didn't have a free and fair, and then summoned them all to January 6th, called them all, assembled them all, and then pumped them all up with speeches from Alex Jones and Roger Stone. And, the news media doesn't really show you the whole 2 days that went on there. The January 5th with Roger Stone. They only show you a little bit of January 6th. And I think at this trial, you're going to see like the whole freaking event. And it was bizarre, and it was inciting, and it was trial by combat, and it was, it's a battle between good and evil. That's what Roger, it's a battle between good and evil. He's the one that invented the slogan, Stop the Steal. He was on Bannon's show. He was on Alex Jones' show. Alex Jones was there the night before. In fact, Alex Jones donated tens of thousands of dollars to organize this rally, along with the heiress to the Publix supermarket fortune. That's who paid for this. Marjorie Taylor Greene and her QAnon Karen friends on this Facebook page, they brought buses. They paid for buses to go to DC. This is just a lie that they continue to tell. She didn't do anything after she was elected, and they all did. Gosar did. He's a serving congressman, okay? They were all there. They were all inciting them. They were all telling them to go kick some ass. They were all invoking revolutionary war. They were all telling them, this is your time. You are here because you need to make history by killing them. Seriously. These were sitting members of the House of Representatives that were there. Hawley gave him a thumbs up and a power to the people kind of thing. I mean, what in the world are they? Why are they lying? If they're proud of what they did, then be proud of what you did. What you did, though, was a bloody coup. You tried to overthrow your own government. That's not free speech, okay? That's insurrection. That's illegal, and you were part of it. So you have all these people begging for a conviction. And no, I highly doubt you'll get 17. I think you might get 7. I think you may see 7 Republicans vote to convict this man. But we'll be 10 short. So Donald Trump is going to declare victory and then go on his little tour. Okay? That's what he's going to do. And he's going to try and start the Trump party. And God love him, go. 64% of Republicans say that they would join a Trump party and leave the Republican Party. It make keeping a terrorist watch list that much easier, but that's what's going to happen. You watch. Ed in Wisconsin.
Hey, Randy.
Hi, Ed.
I'd like to think that somewhere Frank Zappa is smiling because your reference earlier was spot on. That was just perfect. Listen, 2 quick things, and I'll hang up.
Okay.
We could power this country if we could hook up power cables to Dwight Eisenhower's grave, because he is spinning. And earlier, your friend mentioned Larry Summers, and whenever I hear that name, I have to insist that maybe this time we actually listen to Brooks Lee Bourne and tell Larry Summers just to take his act and stick it in his ear.
Well, let's just not ignore the fact that Larry Summers, after the Clinton administration, where he served from, at the end of the Clinton administration, then went to Harvard, and he was expelled, literally, from Harvard. He was the president of Harvard, and they threw him out of there because he said women weren't as smart as men, and maybe that's why they're not as active in the financial system, because they just don't have the acumen, and so Larry Summers needs to be listened to with a grain of salt, okay? Let me show you what the current Treasury Secretary, Janet Yellen, is saying right now about the need for big, bold investment in Americans.
I feel we're at a point in our history when we're faced with not one but 2 crises. A pandemic that has impaired the health of Americans, and an economic crisis that is as serious as any I've seen in my lifetime. And I want to make sure that Americans don't suffer needlessly, and that we attend to their needs. I think we know what those needs are, and we need to act forcefully to make sure that Americans don't suffer needlessly and they get the help that they need. And I want to work with President Biden to make sure that this package, which really does address a wide range of needs, importantly, it addresses the needs of families with children. It's estimated that this package could reduce child poverty by 50%. And I want to make sure that this package gets into law.
God bless her.